My boyfriend won't ask for my hand, and my dad is staging a family boycott for my wedding. Is my boyfriend being selfish? I've been with my boyfriend, male 25, for 3 years. We both just finished school and are finally ready for marriage. He proposed last week and I happily said yes. I couldn't be happier. I love him and he's going to be an awesome dad someday. But my boyfriend is very new school and my dad is kind of old school. My dad was beyond mad that my boyfriend didn't ask my dad for my hand before proposing. My dad said that he was willing to hear my boyfriend's apology if my boyfriend formally asks for my hand at a dinner that my dad said that he will pay for at the restaurant of my boyfriend's choosing. My dad feels like he is being very accommodating. He will bring my boyfriend's favorite wine to celebrate. I spoke to my boyfriend last night and he won't budge. He doesn't believe in that tradition. My boyfriend showed me an article online where a Pakistani woman was stoned to death outside of a courthouse because she married a man against her family's wishes. This just happened. My boyfriend, who witnessed his father be abusive and possessive with his mum as a child, has always felt strongly that women are not property. He thinks the tradition of asking for her hand is repulsive. His point is that he has met my whole family and has gotten to know them. He says they've always known his intentions, and he never made it a secret that he was in love with me and wanted to marry me and have children. He feels that he has done enough to announce his intentions, and all of them seemed to approve of him. He says that at this point, he only needs my approval to marry him and nobody else's. So yesterday, my mum told me that my dad, who is not even speaking to me because I won't set my foot down with my boyfriend, is calling the whole family and telling them to not attend my wedding. My mum says that my boyfriend is the one treating me like property by not letting me have a say in his decision to not observe a tradition that my 2 older sisters' husbands observed. I told my mum that I understand where my boyfriend is coming from and that I've decided to do away with the tradition of him asking for my hand. So my mother is obviously mad and said that I should be ready for serious consequences. I asked her what, and she would not say. But from talking to my sister, she said that they would blackball us from all family gatherings. My 2 sisters and my mum have told me my boyfriend is being selfish. The wedding is set for August 9th. I'm worried that nobody in my family will attend my wedding. In the comments, Deleted said, quote, "My dad feels like he is being very accommodating." No, both he and your mother are being controlling, and they're attempting to make you choose between your fiancé and them. Choose your fiancé, otherwise you're setting a precedent for this type of behavior and interference for the rest of your marriage. OP replies, "This is what I'm afraid of. My fiancé and I don't practice Catholic religion like my family does, so I wonder what will happen when my kids aren't baptized and all that. Does your family have a history of these kinds of controlling behaviors?" OP replies, "My father does. I just never really had a disagreement with him." So my guess then that ultimately this is not about your boyfriend refusing the request per se, but rather a deliberate showdown over whether you'll continue to kowtow to your father or not. Suarez Biteguard says, "Fine, go ahead and agree to your parents' Stone Age demand, but make sure they pay your fiancé your full worth in cattle and or loot. No dowry, no request for hand in marriage. If they want the old traditions, they can have all of them. Don't forget to include the traditional bedding ceremony, where both families watch the bride and groom have sex for the first time. Hell, while you're at it, fly the sullied sheets the next morning to prove to the serfs and nobles that the bride was a virgin and is now deflowered." I think it was already pointed out in the comments here that this is just them being controlling, them trying to always have their way, and them trying to continue this method of abuse, because this will happen when the kids come through. It's going to be their way or the highway. You're getting those kids baptized. Hell or high water, it's going to happen, damn it. So you can choose here whether you put your foot down or you let it happen and you let them walk all over you. And now, onto the updates. The wedding went on as planned. My parents stuck to their guns and boycotted. One of my two sisters attended and is now happily blacklisted from our family. Nobody else from my entire family showed up, including my 2 brothers. The wedding was a little unconventional. My sister walked my husband down the aisle, and then his sister walked me down the aisle. I wanted this because my sister-in-law actually introduced us and helped me get my first date with him. There was no question about who gives away the bride or even about objections. It was normal other than that. There has been no contact between me and my family other than my one sister. My mother has made it a point to send me a card every time that they have a family gathering for holidays or birthdays at their house to let me know that my father says I'm not invited. I get one almost every month. I don't even read them anymore. I just toss them. I don't know why they keep sending them because I've made no effort to contact them and I live over 3 hours away. So it's not like I run into them by accident. The reason I came back to post this here is because some people here made a prediction that came true, that they would come crawling back when we had children. I am now expecting our first child, a girl. She will be the first grandchild for my parents. My parents found out about the pregnancy a few months ago through a family friend. They didn't waste any time in making demands, not requests, demands. My boyfriend and I are not religious, but I had a Catholic upbringing. I don't practice at all by choice. My mother called me back in April, telling me that my father wanted our daughter's middle name to be his mother's first name. I said no. My father was listening in on speaker, so I went ahead and told them that they were officially uninvited from all birthdays, graduations, and any other important dates in her life. My father called me half an hour later, crying and begging me to come stay with them for the birth so that my mother could care for me. I said no. He also said that he had already made arrangements for his priest to baptize her at his church, but that I needed to agree to naming her after his mother if I wanted this to happen. He said he'd already planned a big celebration for the birth and the baptism that he was paying for. I said no to all of it. He went from meekly trying to sweet-talk me to raising his voice at me, and I hung up. He called a couple of more times to apologize for losing his temper, and then again begging me to reconsider giving birth at a hospital near them so that they could visit us. He denied having any knowledge of my mother sending me cards to uninvite us to any family functions, and even said that he specifically asked her to invite us, but he was told that I declined every time. He lets my mum do the dirty work so that he can later hide behind her and deny that he had any knowledge. He's done this since I was a little girl. He does this every time he wants to drop the hammer on somebody, but be the good cop also. He will never change. He denied having any knowledge of why anybody in the family missed my wedding. I told him that our daughter would not be baptized or Catholic at all. No offense to Catholics. I told him that he was too manipulative and controlling, and I didn't want my daughter exposed to that. He's too toxic and just venomous. Coincidentally, that day, and for several days after that phone call, I got tons of calls and emails from my brothers, their wives, my sister, and all my aunts. They all wanted to apologize for missing my wedding, and all had specific excuses and wanted to make plans to be there for my daughter's birth. I banned them all from her life until she's old enough to decide for herself to let them in. My husband was a little bit surprised and not sure about banning everybody forever. He's more leaning towards supervised visits if they want to drive to us. My dad has been calling him like crazy, but we are a united front. My husband is deferring to me, but giving me ideas as to how I can give a little if I decide to. But with my family, there is no giving a little. They want it all. For now, they are all banned. I will reconsider when the youngest of our children turns 18. For now, my dad will have to settle for sucking up to my husband while I stick to my guns. Unlike him, I don't mind owning my decisions, even if it means I'm bad cop. I'm not ready to give up a relatively drama-free, stress-free life to allow my dad and all of his sheep back into our lives. In the comments, Banana4 says, "Wow, your parents have a lot of nerve. They want you to give birth at a hospital convenient to them. They think that you'd trust them to look after you. Quote, my mother has made it a point to send me a card every time they have a family gathering for holidays. I get one almost every month. This is frankly amazing that she would go to that effort. Sadwa says, after they found out about the baby, would have been a really great time to mail all of that back. Better yet, take pictures. Any phone call OP receives should be responded to with a text message with a picture of one of the uninvitations. My Two Cats Are Great says, is there anything more satisfying than reading about assholes having to deal with the consequences of their actions? I don't think there is. Good on you, OP, for setting your boundaries and sticking to them. Keep building an awesome life for you, your husband, your daughter, and your chosen family. Don't waste another thought on those jerks. A downvoted commenter says, he should have just done such a small task and asked, like to make peace. Geez, I mean, really? Pushing your family away for such a stupid reason? On their side and yours. And OP says, but that's the thing. After that one small task, they would want to name my daughter. After another small task, then they would ask I go have the baby near them. Another small task, then they have her baptized by their priest. Then they pick her school, then they make life decisions for her like they tried to with me and my siblings. All small tasks. OP replying to a downvoted comment that things have gone too far and to make amends for their daughter. I guess I would tell you that not everything fits in the oversimplification in your comments. My daughter will be better off without a full family of manipulative, controlling, and abusive people, or people who condone such behavior. After years of abuse, I was glad that my husband decided that my dad's demand that he ask permission to marry me was too antiquated. The original conflict that caused this rift was years of abuse and manipulation. I chose to burn bridges that needed to go. Otherwise, I would never be free to make my own decisions about my own life without consulting with my dad at every turn. Quote, I chose to burn bridges that needed to go? Damn straight, I want to high-five her. I hope their little family is living their best lives without that toxic, controlling drama llama mess. It's not me, it's your bussy says, quote, my dad is kind of old school. Cutting off your daughter, boycotting her wedding, and forcing all of your family to also boycott or get the same treatment, all because her boyfriend didn't jump through one ancient hoop, is a little more than kind of old school. He's Neolithic. And this is why I love stories like this, because this is a shining example of what to do with abusive, dick-headed parents. Do not let them walk all over you. Realize what they're doing is manipulative, realize that it goes against what your wishes are, and it also goes against common sense, and just stand your ground. Set your boundaries, be firm with them, and don't let them cross it. They disrespected OP so many times. Some of the worst disrespect too, just blacklisting her from family events and not showing up to her wedding, then instantly expecting her to forgive about it and demanding that she do everything they say. Just cruel. Insanely cruel behavior. Devoid of empathy. There is not a shred of empathy in any of their souls. I see where the husband is coming from here, being like, maybe we should give them supervised visitation. I don't think you should. I don't think anyone in that family deserves any time besides the other sister that got blacklisted. None of them are good people. They all suck, they should all stay the hell away from OP and OP's daughter, and they should all go find someone else to bother. Thank you for the story, OP, and thank you for being a shining example of the right thing to do. Our next post is by user MiserableWait2784, and it's titled, Am I the asshole for not caring that I was uninvited to my older brother's wedding? This whole thing is so weird. I, 27 male, am gay. I came out at 16, and my parents told me that they would always love me, but to not mention it to my older brother, who I'll call Brick. Then 19 male, 30 male now. When I was confused and asked why, they said that Brick had expressed some awful opinions about gay people. I limited talking to Brick until I moved out at 18, which wasn't much of a problem because we were never close. I went to uni, got a good job, and an awesome boyfriend, 28 male, in my home city. Me and my boyfriend Angel live a peaceful life. Peaceful until a few days ago when I got a phone call from my brother. I was concerned that Brick was calling me, as we have never messaged before. just had each other's numbers for emergency purposes. I picked up because maybe there was some emergency happening, and he opened the call with an annoyed, "Hey man," and I knew something was up. He said he was getting married to his fiancée Yen, 24 female, next year. I didn't even know he had a girlfriend. I was like, "That's great, Brick," and asked some boring wedding things that he begrudgingly answered. He then told me that invites were being sent out in a couple of weeks and that I could bring a +1. Well, here's where I made the mistake that started this mess. Without thinking, like an idiot, I said, "Cool, I'll bring my boyfriend." Major mess up. Brick immediately starts yelling insults down the line, screaming that he wouldn't have an F-slur at his wedding. I didn't say anything and just hung up. I was rattled by hearing those words from my own brother's mouth, even though I knew his feelings about people like me. I told Angel, and he comforted me, ordering in my favorite restaurant and watching movies with me, which was awesome. We went to bed later, and I felt alright the next day. I sent my parents a message that Brick invited me and then uninvited me from his wedding pretty much in the same breath, and went on my way to work. Not a clue of the crap storm waiting for me when I got off. When I turned my phone on again after my shift, it was blowing up. Messages and calls from my parents and relatives galore asking me what the hell happened. I phoned my parents back when I got home and gave them the rundown of what happened and said I honestly didn't care because it's not like Brick would be coming to my wedding anyways. My parents immediately chastised me for my obvious disinterest and disregard of my brother's life. That's rich. And told me that I should be apologizing to him for bringing my personal life into his wedding. What? I basically told my parents to screw off and have been getting bombarded with messages from relatives to apologize to my brother and to get my invite reinstated and apologize to my parents for disrespecting them. But I really don't want to. Angel is reassuring me that I did nothing wrong, but it's still nagging me. Am I the asshole? Ring ring. Hello, Brick. Sorry for being a flaming homosexual. Sorry that upsets you so much. Sorry for bringing my personal life into your wedding when you talked about a +1 and I said I'd bring my boyfriend. Didn't know that it upset you so much, mate. In the comments, OK Number says, "Why did your brother sound annoyed at the beginning of the call? Did he already know? Or was he being forced to invite you by your parents? Seems weird." OP replies, "He's never been my biggest fan, honestly." Couldn't tell. We were very different as kids, like polar opposites, and he didn't like that. Very on brand for him. He definitely didn't know that I was gay before the call. My parents have kept it very under wraps for years. In terms if he was being forced to invite me by my parents, I really have zero clue. Dittohead Forever says, "You're not the asshole, and it's easy to see where your brother got his attitude. Quote, my parents told me they would always love me. Yeah, until the rubber met the road. Your parents sure let you down. Quote, my parents told me that I should be apologizing to him? Huh? Isn't it natural to respond to an invitation with a +1 to say, great, I will bring my significant other? Quote, Angel's reassuring me that I did nothing wrong. He's right." The Magnificent Prim says, "And on the parents asking him to apologize, you can tell that they're not actually supportive because they're still treating queer identities like a kink that needs to be kept out of non-consenting public eye. Interests that people can have opinions on and not intrinsic parts of who they are. They're effectively treating this like OP requested that he show up in fetish gear. Absolutely not the asshole. We need to lay these ideas about queer identities to bed already. Amen. And people need to stop concerning themselves about what consenting adults do with each other, who gets married to who, etc. Just mind their business." Lemon Charlie says, "Not the asshole. If he's a homophobe and the family condone his homophobia, then they're enabling it, and the wedding will have a homophobic attitude. Your parents warned you about Brick, which proved sadly true since the moment he realized he went straight to the slurs. Even if you did apologize, then you know that you'll be in for abuse at the wedding if Brick ever accepts it. Angel is right, and the one treating you best. Tell your family that you won't be the punching bag for Brick's hate." You already know my position on this one. I've given enough sly comments here. The hell is wrong with everyone? Why do I keep getting posts where everyone sucks? It's like horrifically. Were their brains eaten by worms? How do they not see this horrific injustice in front of them and go, I should support the person that is having an injustice against them? Why do they say, I need to beat the shit out of the victim here. I need to dogpile on them because actually I'd never supported them. Screw him and his gayness. I just don't get it. It's 2024. Like, can we not all just be flaming pieces of shit for once? What's going on? Not the asshole for not caring that you weren't invited to your older brother's wedding, OP. Find some new family. Oh my god. And now, onto the update. Y'all have really opened my eyes to a lot of issues in my family. I apologize for only replying to a few comments. There's just so many of you. Big shout out to all of the people who gave compliments to Angel. I showed him this post last night and he thanks you all. I've been showing him lots of love because he really is an angel. And to the people calling this fake, AI, cliche and whatnot, I hate to break it to you all, but this is just my life. It sounds cliche because this is the sort of thing that is all too real that happens to many people in the community. Just move along if you want to say that stuff, because you're honestly just wasting your time. One of two things I would also like to address is people questioning me about thinking that I could possibly be the asshole in this situation. And all I can say is that when you have a mass of people telling you that you're wrong for what you did, it's hard to not maybe believe them just a little bit, no matter how absurd it is. Second thing, for people wondering how no one in the family knew that I was gay, I really was never, and am not, close with my extended family, as they all live in different provinces, and my immediate family never traveled. We really just send each other holiday and birthday messages and have brief conversations whenever those are sent, and I just never had the urge to come out to them. Anyways, on to the update. I decided I didn't want to let this sit for any longer. I took a day off work and I added my parents, Brick, and all the family that messaged and called me into one big group chat per one advice I saw here. I laid out everything that went down to them in case they were told a different story by my parents and brother. I told them that I was going no contact with my parents and Brick no matter what, and if they didn't apologize and realize what they did wrong, I would cut them off too. I turned my phone off and continued on without it for the rest of the day. Once I turned my phone on again, I had lots of messages from them. My parents were outraged, and Brick said nothing. Some of my extended family apologized and told me that my parents just told them that I was mean to Brick about some of his wedding plan choices, which got me uninvited. Still trying to wrap my head around how stupid that is. Seriously think that my parents might be Neanderthals. Anyway, the real story made others even more angry and more insistent that I apologize, and they were promptly blocked. I didn't answer any of my parents' texts and calls, and blocked them. I feel like I have a weight off my shoulders. I'm not concerned about my parents showing up at our apartment as they moved away from my city last year. Angel and I are planning a lovely trip, per advice of a lot of people that we thought was great, to France to visit his family during when the wedding will be taking place, which I'm very excited for. I've heard nothing but good things about them. This will most likely be my only update on this post, and I thank you all for your support. In the comments, S. Tilly says, surprising no one, the parents are homophobes too. Support without any actual backup and enabling of the fragrantly homophobic brother. Kelly Rose says, I knew they were homophobes immediately with the "we support you, but don't tell your brother" or like the rest of the family bullshit. It would be one thing to warn OP, be careful, your brother is a huge homophobe, but they basically said that it's on OP to suffer so the homophobe feels more comfortable. Such classic bullshit. Queer person exists. Non-queer person? What the hell? Why would you do this to me? A tale as old as time, unfortunately. Good riddance to bad news going no contact with the Neanders. And definitely not Iron Man says, hey now, this is no place for Neander slander. By all accounts, Neanderthals seem pretty normal. Living, dying, eating, creating, interbreeding. Typical human stuff. OP's families are ghouls, sucking the positivity out of everywhere they go. And that's where I'm going to end today's episode, guys. I do hope you enjoyed. If you did, let me know what you thought of it down below, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye!